I find the full size truck for what Toyota does, and the mid-size trucks definitely they're enthusiasts. They know that audience. It's an enthusiast vehicle. Like they're not a. I don't think of Toyota as that fleet vehicle. I don't really think
Yeah.
they ever want to play in that game, and so they have this rabid fan base that is loyal to them and will kind of overlook something.
Yeah, and so those joining us on my channel, I just want to make sure it's Tim Pickup Truck Plus as we talk, joined by Dave from All Terrain Nation. We're talking trucks. We just talked about the Toyotas having a moment in time, a moment. This is week with recalls and things, and how the Toyota fan base is like appalled at what's going on because they have reliability and durability as their two core values, and if they don't have that, what does Toyota offer? And it's interesting feedback I got from the Tundras.com forum. I don't know. I think the TRD Pros are really cool. I think they've built some better vehicles. I think it's hard to change opinions. I remember I drove a little bit off topic, but I drove the Camry at an event in Texas, and I was talking to their program manager for that. And I said, why do you guys? The reviews came out, and people were like, well, it's typical Toyota, or the powertrain's a dog. I mean, and he's like, yeah. He goes, it's hard to get people to move forward, to forget about maybe the past image of Toyota's bland vehicles and things, and to embrace the new Toyota that's really trying to push the envelope and being more out there, right? So I just had the lunar rock color Sequoia, which is just and it's funny, I don't give them enough credit for that because it's such a unique color, right? And they have a new Terra color coming out. They've had the solar octane. They've had different colors, but we tend to always think of Toyota as having a white, a blue, a red, and a silver, right?
Yeah.
I mean, a black. Yeah. I mean, you don't have that stuff. And so, his point was they ordered a black Camry with a black interior, and it was black on black, first time they ever offered it. And so he was really excited about it. And he's like, yeah, he goes, it looks great. I love it, And I'm like, yeah, I mean, this new age of Toyota leadership is trying to push the envelope and get away from the bland of the old Toyota. But if you start pushing the envelope too quickly, I think what you find is recalls and things happening because you have so many changes. I had a friend of mine who's been a Toyota enthusiast for years and years. And he said to me something interesting. He said, this is the first time he can remember where Toyota has really made a lot of changes real quick. Mm-hmm. Like the Tundra had, everything was changed. I mean, everything ground up brand new. And it's first time really since 2008, when they transitioned from the Gen 1 truck to Gen 2 truck. And so 2007, 2008 in that time period. So, I mean, they made a lot of changes really quickly. And you'd expect if you make a lot of changes that you're going to miss a piece here and there. But that's interesting. It's just interesting feedback, talking to the fans and talking to people and understanding, what their viewpoint is. And yeah, Fubar puts it out. Hell yeah, I made it. Toyota will recover. Toyota will recover. This is a global company that they've been building vehicles for 100 years. Like they know what they're doing, right? But yeah, it's a very interesting conversations online.
Well, so quick question, because I know you've followed Toyota and I've followed other companies more deeply than Toyota, but is the 3.4, did it first come out and make its debut with the Tundra? Is that when or has this engine been around for them for a while?
It was around, I think it came out first globally, and then it went into Tundra. Land Cruiser uses it, so it's a global engine.
So it's not new. Like that's my point.
No. I mean, you're talking 2021. Like you're talking.
Okay.
You're talking. This is a new engine for sure. It's not the same as there was a car that had it, like a Lexus or something. People thought it was the same engine. I talked to the engineers. It is not. It's a different engine.
So the LS 500 it's different.
It's different than the LS, Greg. That's nice to see you around, by the way, Brian. So yeah, it's a different. Toyota's engineering told me it was a different engine. They were like, it's not the same, nothing about the same. But it's funny because it shares the same liter displacement and the same twin turbo-ness, but they said
which it didn't initially, right? Initially they were trying to call it a 3.5, and then
you talk about the weirdest head scratcher. Like all my videos are wrong because initially they said it was a 3.5, then they said, oh no, wait, we got to carry the 1 and divided by the 2 and to 10
I don't think they wanted to get into Ford's 5.0 from the Mustang of the late 80s. Ford ended up getting sued over calling it a 5.0, and I think it was like a 4.8 liter engine or something. And they were lying to their customers, really.
Yes, and Ryan points out the block and heads are the same. There's a lot of similarities between those two engines, Ryan. There are, but Toyota's engineering has told me it is different.
Well, the 2.7 that supposedly the Bronco has is different than the 2.7 that the truck gets. Supposedly it's re-engineered. I don't know that for a fact, but I have heard that.
Let me ask you this. This is a interesting theory going around. You worked in assembly plant
Mhm.
and you have experience in the line. And I find this theory to be fascinating. The thought on this. So there was a Reddit user, which of course always makes me go,
Yeah,
not
whoops.
sure about that, right? So this Reddit user posted on a comment, and I've seen this filter out through Facebook groups and forums and such. And I log into all the different brands Facebook forums. I'm on all of them, just but the Tundra stuff's been the most um, interesting as of late. He said that this was all the engine debris in the engine, the machine debris, was the result of one employee who had an axe to grind at Toyota, and he was putting the machine debris in the engine.
No, because everything you do is so scrutinized, videoed, like, they have you would be amazed how many like, I'm sure engineering is the same way, but you would be amazed how they're followed. They're watching everything, and, they'll you would go to jail. Like, you're talking billions of dollars on the line for you purposely doing something like that. There's no way I'd never see that happening.
Yeah, it's been an interesting conversation, and the other thing, the problem with that conversation is that that engine is built at two different engine plants.
Mhm.
They build it at Tahara. From what all my understanding, I've read the NHTSA documents. I've been to Tahara. They have an engine facility or engine assembly plant there on property, and what we understand is they built it at both places. So,
Yeah, what I really think's happened, Tim, is I think obviously it's machined, it's computer controlled machined, and I think what's happened is at some point when everything's being cast or bored out, I think that something's hiding in a water jacket or something. There's just some slight debris that for some reason either they don't get blown out, or I want to say they dip these things, but for some reason there has to be a cavity somewhere just hiding just a little bit of debris in there, and all of a sudden either a seal loosens up or something and causes that to get in. Because what exactly is it something with the valves? What is going on with it?
so under load, they're saying the machine debris gets in and causes the main bearing to get rounded off and start spinning.
Hmm.
And so you're looking at either, I guess there's two ways that people talk about this, and I wasn't up in my terminology, but there's a short block replacement or the full crate engine replacement. So basically, the dealership can take off the top block, and then they can do a short block replacement, use the
Yeah,
existing engine, replace the parts, or they can put a whole new crate engine in. And my understanding is it comes down to the Toyota corporate decision making on that, because people are waiting for the fix, and it's like people keep waiting for the fix and stuff, and it's like, well, wait, the fix is, we don't know the fix yet. Like we
well,
don't
yeah, but they have to know, because if they're saying that it stopped at a certain date, they know
yeah.
what was going
No,
on.
no, the fix, so they have a new cleanliness standard, and they've been upgrading
Right.
those, and yeah, and so we're trying to figure out, like, people are trying to narrow down to one person, and it's just like ridiculous to me. But oh, it's a design flaw, and I'm like, well, the engine doesn't go bad for everybody, and
Yeah.
so what they're saying is the machine debris in there is causing the spun bearing after at load or after so many miles or something like that. It's just getting into the engine.
Yeah.
So that's where it's at. Dealerships have been replacing engines now for last year, according to the different Facebook groups and forums and such. So when I said they'll probably replace some engines, people got all mad at me, and I'm like, well, but they've been doing that. Like
Yeah.
I'm not making it up. Like dealerships have been doing it. There's one dealership went on the channel and said they do 3 to 4 new full engine replacements each month.
Yeah. Oh, I don't doubt it at all. And I can see it's probably cheaper, in my opinion. It's probably cheaper just to replace the whole engine and let's get this stuff out, because if you try to fix the problem, then you're just opening yourself up. They're going to have to somehow carry an additional, like, here's an additional warranty for workmanship. Like, it's just better probably for them to go, okay, there's 36,000 miles on it. We're done.
Yeah, and what's interesting about it is the conversation online is kind of split. Like, where's the trust factor at? Would you trust a technician in a dealership to do a good job and swap out the bad parts and build a new engine, or do you trust the factory to send a new crate engine
Yeah.
and swap engines? It's interesting. People have different viewpoints on it, and my viewpoint is like, so you have no guarantee either way, right? You can decide to put a new full engine in, which is fine, but there's no guarantee that one is perfect from factory, because it's rolling the dice. Or you can trust the mechanic in your shop to do it, which we used to do that all the time. My engine, my 62 C10 is from a replacement from a guy in the shop who did it. So like,
Yeah.
it's just a truck. It's just interesting debate online. And then so Steve says they want a replacement, not repair. But then you're also trusting the technician to install the engine and hook it all
Yeah,
up correctly.
if you look,
So,
Tim, if you pay attention to any of the old school repairs, you know, like transmission shops and all that, nobody repairs any of that stuff anymore.
Yeah.
Nobody breaks all the stuff down and fixes it, because I think I think the speed to do it, and that being on the rack, they know they can have an engine in and out in a day. Like that's pretty easy and seemingly common for Toyota to do now.
Yeah.
But I mean, I know there's a place here in Tennessee who gets all of like Nissan's CVTs or whatever that goes bad. There's a shop. They send them, they pick them up from each dealership, they repair them in this. It's basically a factory. So they clean it, flush it all out, get all new parts in it, and then they go right back ready to to be used, I'm sure, as an aftermarket, part. But
Right.
I don't see ever them just going, hey, let's just fix this. I really don't see it. I see, let's just do a new engine.
Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens. And then I did a dealership quote and put it on a video. The parts
I saw
alone were
that.
like $24,000,
Mhm.
and then labor's about $6,000. People lost their minds. They called me all sorts of names, and I was like, it's literally facts from a dealership. I'm not making this
Yeah.
stuff up. Like, and it's always goes back to the funny thing about EVs. Oh, EV batteries are really expensive. I'm like, have you looked at new engines? like, like,
Right.
like everything's expensive. My golf buddy said his transmission replaced in his Ram 2500. It was $11,000 for new transmission.
Mhm.
So I'm like, if the transmission is $11,000, pretty sure the engine
You
is.
know what might give them that thought, though? Because vehicles are the past 30 years, if I could speak, 30 years, vehicles have been so good. It used to be you would get that, 50,000 miles. Good luck on
Yeah.
that thing lasting. I think vehicles are so good now that people have really put that out of their mind of like what repair costs are.
Yeah, yeah, and I remember my cousin told me for a long time. He goes, "Oh, you just go get a new 350 V8 for about $500." And I was like, "What?" And I realized he was talking 20 years ago because that engine today is now $5,000.
Yeah. Oh, I remember you could go into AutoZone or parts place like that, and you could buy crate engines. It's
Yeah,
like, yeah, and they were under $1,000 full engine.
yeah, those days are gone.
Way gone.
They're way
Way
gone.
gone.
So yeah, I
Um,
think it's and then you have the Grand Highlander issue and Lexus TX issue that went live yesterday. That was a shout out to Kurt Keifels in this channel. I saw his thumbnail, watched the video a little bit, and then I happened to be the day it was supposed to happen. So I emailed Toyota, and they're like, "Yep, it's right here." So, and that's crazy. It's the driver's side airbag may not deploy in accidents when the driver's side window is down. So, talk about a weird combination of factors. So, you have to be in a frontal crash, and you have to have your driver's side window down for the airbag to may not deploy. If it doesn't deploy, that means it doesn't meet the federal motor vehicle safety standards, which means it cannot be sold because you have to pass FMVSS to have your vehicle certified in the United States to be sold to get your title, license, registration, that kind of stuff. Which is that's the detriment for people importing vehicles in the United States. There's a lot of things you have to do to pass FMVSS.
yes. And yeah, I was looking over this, and once again, this is a high volume vehicle for them. Of course, this is what it came out last year, I believe, the Highlander, Grand Highlander.
Yeah, it came out last year. It's going to be a high volume. I actually had sent it to my friend. I told him to go buy one. He went and bought one. So I just
The Grand, I would never buy just the Highlander. I would
I,
always go to the Grand. It's not much more,
I know. Yeah, it's like
and
it's
it's
like
a big
$1,000,
upgrade.
$2,000 more. It's nothing.
Yeah. Great vehicle. I did some time in it last year in Texas, and yeah, I love this vehicle. But yeah, this is their what's their not Corolla, what's their Camry? This is the Camry for Toyota and SUVs. Like this is
Oh yeah.
their volume seller. And to see, this is another thing that brings up, remember what was the Takati or whatever it was, the not Takati, the airbag
Takata.
issue.
Takata airbags. Yeah, everybody
Yeah.
had to recall. And the problem was that Takata was the world's biggest supplier of airbags. So it took them a long time to get more airbags built, and everybody had phases of recalls.
Yeah.
Every brand, Toyota, Lexus, GM, Ford, Chrysler, they had to recall so many because they had that many airbags to replace. What's interesting is that the IIHS tested the Grand Highlander and it had great scores. Very safe vehicle. And then they found this issue. And according to Kirk's video, apparently at the Indiana plant, there's a backlog of Grand Highlanders and Lexus TXs that they stopped shipping about 2 weeks ago because they knew this recall was coming. And
well,
so,
yeah, they definitely. Yeah, I mean, I think I said it last week. Ford still hasn't pushed all the Rangers and Ranger Raptors out the first 2-month builds because they're going through them, going, "Oh, let's fix some problems."
right, yeah.
And I've got one problem we'll save to a little bit because I want you to see this and question how something got out of a plan. So I've got something this is good you're on here because you're gonna love this one. But yeah, like it's just hit after hit for this poor company right now. And I remember the framing issue, and I was kind of early into the paying attention to the industry, kind of getting my feet wet with this. And I remember like they took a reputation hit with the frames.
Yeah.
Now you're going into 20 years later or whatever, because what was that? That was like the early 2000s stuff, if I remember right.
Yep.
And that wasn't really a Toyota's issue. That was a Dana who was, I think, making the frames for them. More of the quality issue.
It's always a supplier issue.
Yeah. But this one here, man, they have a lot to they've got all these new vehicles coming out. And that's my concern for Toyota right now is Tundra. Okay, Tundra has an audience, and if Toyota goes, if we can pick up 2% a year more in sales, that's probably great for them. But you start worrying when, okay, that's got a problem. Now, Grand Highlander's got a problem. Oh, guess what? Tacoma just came out. Now, no problems yet. Everything seems to be great for that truck so far. But if I'm a customer, and we talked a little bit about this last week, if I'm a customer, I'm looking at this going, I'm going to pump maybe I don't need a vehicle this year if I'm Toyota bound, or maybe one of those GM products or one of them Nissan products. Maybe there's another brand out there that I haven't heard too much about. And Nissan being one of those companies right now, you just don't hear really many recall issues with that company, mostly because most of their products so old, but they keep building something that works.
Yeah, it's interesting. The feedback I've been getting from Tundra fans and looking at GMC Sierra 2500s. Like I've had like 6 people, I swear, have reached out to me like, well, I'm not going to buy a Tundra because of this engine recall stuff, and I'm concerned about 24s having engine recall stuff, so I'm going to go buy something else. And it turns out they're like, what do you think of the GMC Sierra 2500? Like it just constantly comes up, and I'm like, I didn't think it was that aspirational to own it, but yeah, people are looking for that one as a replacement. They'd rather go heavy duty for the dollar amount, and I think it's wise. Heavy duties don't get the same traffic for views that light duties do. That's why I've never bought one.
Which is the forum, Tim? Which is the forum you've been watching for the truck?
Tundras.com.
Tundras.com. Okay, because they have like 16, it seems.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. Yeah, Tundras is one of the bigger ones, and the admins have been nice to me, and we've talked back and forth a little bit. But yeah, they're like GMC Sierra 2500s. It's interesting. I'm not. It's just I don't know. That's my anecdotal story to that.
But I'm curious. So I just pulled their forum up because I'm curious to see what is the recent threads all about. So let's just see here. Suspension, moving on. Convince me otherwise. I'm assuming that moving on is because of the issues. Right. I don't see, usually real quickly you can see what people are fussing about. Now you follow this clearly and I don't.
Yeah, they've had a lot of the threads on the engine stuff. They've actually had to take down 2 of them, and what the admins have told me, just started deleting people. they're just
really
done with it. Yeah, apparently I've gotten a lot of hate, and so they've been deleting people. He told me, he's like, anytime, I hope you don't see them. And I was like, not to be rude, but I have like 10 threads open at one time. Like I got all sorts of stuff going all the time. And so I didn't look at all of them. And so I miss a lot of stuff, but I've been paying attention to that stuff quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been fascinating to watch. It's been fascinating to watch things play out. And some fear. I was surprised. I read something on live stream the other night. I wrote a post on there. I'm surprised at the fear dropping, fear selling, right? So one guy was like really happy he traded out his Tundra. He got into a Ram 2500, which another, again, heavy duty, another oddball consideration. In my view, just going half on the heavy duty. He was able to get 10 grand off, and he rolled some of his negative equity into that. But he ended up losing $20,000 on his Tundra in like a year and a half. And he was really happy about the deal he made. And it blows my mind. I looked up my numbers. I bought my Tundra in 2022 for $59,000. I sold it to the dealer for $53,000. I should have at least gotten 57 for it. So depending how you look at, whether you look at taxes as part of that equation, you can, however you want to look at the numbers, but I still didn't lose $20,000 even with taxes rolled into that.
Yeah, well, trust me, I own a Mustang that I could really lose my ass on right now. That's why it's still sitting in my driveway. I'm like, I might as well just get a little more fun out of it and maybe recoup a little bit later on. So I pulled up the Tacoma World because they're one of the biggest for this, and of course the first thing I see is fourth gen's not selling, which always cracks me up because the thread was started in May 6th. The truck is just hitting deliveries or hitting dealers, but it's this cat here, man. And part of the fear mongering of like you stand in front of a thing and you put, not selling and trips me out. But I'm not trying to beat this guy up about it, but I was curious. So let's go. There's 32 pages of them not selling. Nothing as I kind of scroll through here, nothing of like people being really, really worried about, oh no, the little truck, but they have to be in the back of people's mind though, right?
Well, it's just getting going. Like one of your commenters wants to know about the lower pricing. It's just getting going. Like they're not even close to full rollout. Like if they ever did market adjustments for pricing, that kind of deal, it'd be 2027, 2028, something that's out there for a while. Toyota's not doing anything anytime soon, for sure. And yeah, they will sell. They're going to sell. The fear comes from the Q2 sales report that showed that Tacoma was down 50% in sales. So selling 50,000, they sold 22,000, which still leads the midsize truck segment.
Yeah, right. Something you can be down half,
kicks butt, and because they have their supplies down because they're still rolling out the new ones. So it's really more about supply than was anything.
Well, you
else.
Look at Ford, same numbers. Ford stopped producing the 5th gen Ranger last June.
Yeah,
and they were supposed to have by fall. They were supposed to have the new truck, and of course, issues happen. But yeah, and people want to that same kind of the fear mongering that we see. Oh, they can't sell because look at the numbers. Yeah, but you're BSing your way through this, or you're just purposely lying to your audience of hoping for clicks, I guess, more than anything. But this was an interesting comment. Fubar Medic, who's a friend of the show, 24 Titans are selling in Chicago for almost 10K. But you know what's funny about that? They always sell for 8 to 10K under. That's not really a deal as far as a Titan. So
yeah, people have brought the Titan as well, and our forum and different places is a replacement for the Tundra. And the challenge with the Titan is going to be finding one. Yeah. I mean, they didn't build that many. Then they ended production, and
I think production ends this month or next month.
Yeah, so it's like if you can find one, great. It's not a bad truck. There's I have my little timisms about it. Like I don't know why the heated seat button's got to be like this tiny. It just cracks me up. And so like I have my little timisms about it, but it's a pretty solid truck. And I think there's a lot of people that are looking at this going, well, Tundra's big problem is the engine, which is obviously related to going turbocharged. No, it's not. No, it's not. And people are like, well, that's what happens. You get was it the turbos? I'm like, Ford's been doing turbos for 12 years now, going maybe 13 years.
Well, the import brands have been doing them since the 70s. That's not new to them.
Yeah, this small displacement turbocharged engines are not new. And I've had people tell me like, I will only buy a truck that doesn't have one. I don't want any turbos. I'm like, well, here's the thing. In the next couple of years, good luck finding one. I truly believe the Frontier is going to get refreshed at some point. We've seen some spy photos, and I don't know how they don't go with the turbocharged engine in that because if you drive a Tacoma versus Frontier back to back, you're going to be like, man, this Frontier is slow. And it's not slow. It's just that the full ground up turbocharged engine is going to perform faster off the line. It's going to feel faster than a naturally aspirated engine.
Yeah, I think for the Nissan, the biggest hurdle for them is the transmission. I think it's a strong because the 4-liter they had was pretty strong. I mean, it's only 280 horsepower, but the 9-speed transmission when I drove that truck, it just looked a lot for where to be, and I think that's just a Nissan learning programming. Will they'll like you said, they'll do a refresh to this thing and they'll adjust all that. But
turbos and torque, instant torque fix a lot of transmission shifting issues.
Yeah. So speaking of that, here is kind of what Nissan, it looks like they're messing with the tailgate. sides just a little bit. Those are definitely new wheels on it, so that's kind of interesting that the Frontier might get some new wheels, and I hope they get a new interior in this thing because that is dated. And I love this truck, by the way. I would own this truck,
Mhm.
but I don't want to. I owned a Titan in 17. I don't want to own the mini version interior in 24. That's really that goes back to what 16s when that truck came out. So I don't want to own that same interior 10 years later.
Yeah, I just really worry about Nissan. I like the Frontier. I drove a lot of them. I like the Titan. I just the company's just weird to me right now. They spent a lot of money on the Infinity refresh, so a lot
Mhm.
of money on Nissan Armada refresh, which those things don't really aren't very sales volume. The Rogue is good, not great. The front they killed the Titan. They want to build new EVs at the plant in Canton, but then they kind of walk back on that a little bit. So I don't know what they're doing. I think the automotive industry is looking at Nissan going, what are you doing? You have that little meme you always put out with a guy with a stick going, "Come on, do something." And it just feels that way. Like I like Nissan, like I like their vehicles, but it's like, gosh darn it, like do something, like wow us. Like you did a photo years ago about the Nismo,
Yeah.
and where's that gone? Nowhere.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
It's
no,
like
I they're an interesting company. Of course, midsize and the small trucks that was their bread and butter.
mhm.
They had a Sentra, and then they had the little trucks, and that's where Nissan's all their volume and money was. Then they decided, let's bring in Infinity, which I think Infinity could go away. And honestly, I almost feel like Lexus could go away. Like these do not add anything to the brands anymore. I know we can upcharge whatever, but you could do this under Toyota or Nissan. You can just do a high-end Maxima or for a truck, you want to do a high-end truck, just do it. It doesn't have to be called something spectacular. In
You know why
Infinity in
those brands
general,
stick around, don't you? Those
well,
brands stick
Infinity has
around.
had like 14 seems like CEOs in the past 10 years. Like there's no focus. Then I remember I was working for Nissan at the launch of the what's known as the QX60 now, but they called it a JX35 then. Suddenly they get a new CEO in, and oh no, nobody's going to understand the JX, which they've been using for a while, and Q was their original badging. But so the next year it got 1 year as a JX35, and then they had to switch the name, and they've confused the market on the vehicle already for what? Like, but that same vehicle you can get, you've drove the Pathfinder. It's a nice vehicle. I wish it had I guess it does have a real transmission now.
Yeah, it does.
But past that, it's fine. Like you could luxury one of those things out and still get in this day and age $80,000 for it. People would buy it.
It's the dealership experience.
Well, but
So
there's
luxury
Infinity
dealership
doesn't have many
experience.
dealers anymore.
Well, that's the thing is that a lot of people buy luxury vehicles, and you go to a Toyota dealership or go to a Lexus dealership. It's a different experience. It's just a
Yeah.
different dealership experience. That's one of the things people don't talk about a lot with luxury vehicles. Is not only do you get a little bit nicer materials, a little bit better, typically you get a little bit nicer seat materials, that kind of stuff, but you have a much better dealership experience.
Yeah. Well, definitely on this Frontier though, they looks like the wind dam down here is different. I want to say this is a Pro 4X, but it doesn't look tall enough, but it's got the kind of color tow hooks on it.
Right.
They're definitely monkeying with something, but usually Nissan, do you remember when the first generation Frontier came in, had the little square lights, then they brought in the turbo version or the supercharged version. Then they kind of gave it bigger lights and tail lights and stuff. And it came down to the only thing they were allowed to change about that vehicle was the headlights itself. They couldn't change the hood, nothing about that. So they were stuck with whatever the hood did. That's all they could do, and they called that a refresh. And that's Nissan. So hopefully this little truck, it does get a little bit more love than what we're seeing now. But it does look like different wheels and stuff. So
Yeah, I remember talking to Nissan about it, and they said that more than anything else, their North American offices don't have autonomy to make changes. Go back to that exit sign. Isn't that weird? There's no name on that.
oh, I think somebody might have taken
Might
that
have
out.
taken that out, yeah. So, but yeah, it's like they don't have autonomy. Like, so one of the things that Toyota was able to do felt like a decade ago now, was Toyota Japan gave North America more autonomy to make changes for their US market. And
Hmm.
Nissan didn't do the same thing. And I think that kind of comes down to what really hurts them as a company is that they have listed in Japan. So like I wanted the Titan to have the trim level, like the Platinum Reserve trim level badge on the side of the front fender, like you see King Ranch and different brands do it. And they said Japan said no. Japan said we had to have the displacement of the engine there. And I'm like, nobody cares about displacement of the engine there. They want to, you know, if I'm going to drive Platinum Reserve, I want you to know I'm driving a Platinum Reserve,
right?
Not just on the tailgate, because right in the Platinum Reserve, the only difference was the tailgate looked different on the exterior. And I'm like, you got to make if I'm spending that much coin, you got to make the thing look different on the exterior in more places than just the tailgate.
Well, you know, for Nissan too, is when I was at the Chicago Auto Show, I talked to our buddy Steve, who represents them there, and he was really pushing the Forsberg edition. And I was talking to him a little bit about it, and it's like, well, they're not going to do that from the factory. I was like, what are you pushing then? Like, oh, this is a dealer added option. And you remember when the Titan was supposed to get, factory lift. You can get a lifted Titan from the factory, and people got excited about it. And then that just slowly went away, much like the V6 that was supposed to get as well. But, and then we're going to let dealers handle that. And when you let dealers handle that, guess what? Dealers are cheap, and they're going to go find the cheaper option, which is generally rough country or somebody like that, and shove under the vehicle and still upcharge $50,000 for the truck. Yeah. So I'm with you. And I think we could have a conversation sometime about how Nissan and Stellantis basically are on equal footing now, because they're both on such rocky, could not be here in 5 years, might be here, who knows. I think that'd be a good conversation. But Tim, back. Go ahead.
Let me push out the story real fast, and then you can bring it up, because it's actually kind of fascinating. This is on the Truck News recap, but let me just hit publish. Publish.
Wave says, I remember the icon lift. Yeah, well, you know what I was told too about why even dealers didn't want to do it, because Nissan put so many restrictions. The paperwork you had to fill out was so thick, because I'm assuming liability, that it was just easier for dealers just to go, we'll just do this.
Yeah, and then I can talk about direct injection. I see there's a question about that. I do want to. I keep talking about that on my channel, and I want to bring that question up. But this was fascinating to me. If you can throw that screen on there, I'm looking at those. By the way, I'm looking at those sunglasses. If you have any ideas on Rhea, let me know. That's why it's up there, because I was watching videos today. I need a new pair of sunglasses, and I want things that I can see the golf ball better. So.
Isn't it amazing though how, of course, you have ads on your website and stuff? Yeah. That's what pays the bills. But isn't it amazing though how cookies even bite you in your own ads? Like it focuses, oh, now this is an ad for Tim.
I know, but I'm shopping for these, so I'm like looking at these things. Right. I'm looking.
If you keep refreshing that ad, maybe you can afford to buy the pair.
They're like $200, so that didn't take me a hot minute to make a decision on that. So Stellantis CEO wants to cut costs by 30%, clean up mess at plants. This is a direct quote. Stellantis CEO Tavares told investors he wants to cut costs by 30% and plans to send in European managers to clean up the mess at the plants.
I have a lot of thoughts on this. If you want to, we might be here for a while. I have a lot of ranty thoughts on this.
Right. And basically what he's doing is he's talking about, he wants to, this is the Auburn Hills office tower in Michigan. He wants to gut that, send engineering over to Turkey
right across from that.
And Morocco. He wants to launch these EVs and make the cost the same price as ICE vehicles. And then he wants to go into plants and clean house and make the plants be better. He says they have at least 2 plants need to redone, at least 2. So yikes.
So first off, and we have friends that work for this company. We're both connected to them. I want to say you guys work hard. I'm not crapping on you and the hard work you do. This company's been bought out, it seems like, over the past 10 years, 4 times. So you're just dealing with what you get. But when you take a bunch of, bleep this if you want, pile of shit companies, which Fiat and all these companies were, guess what? They were all failing. So that's why they started merging together, was because that's what you do. When you're failing, hopefully somebody can save you. They're going down this GM path. And you have to remember this, Tim, because your dad worked for General Motors. Was in the 90s when they started not failing a little bit. What did they do? They went and bought profitable companies to make their final books look great. Oh, we're still doing great. And then what did they do? They GM'd those companies, like Isuzu. Isuzu was great on its own. GM gets their hands on it, and 10 years or 5 years later, I think they're gone, basically. As far as they had their own little trucks, they turned them into their little S10s. They just ruined the company. So I feel like when this big merger happened and they picked up Ram and Jeep, Ram and Jeep were the only profit. If you look at it, really, I think they were the only profitable companies out of all of them that merged together. And what does poor leadership do? They F those companies up. And I think that's what's happening now is poor Ram is that there's nobody left over from the American side that can tell them no. Like, who's going to say no to this European cat? Nobody, because they don't want to lose their jobs. And I think we've seen it with Jeep. CEO suddenly, oh, he's going to be in parts. And suddenly when I probably had like a 6-month, like, then you can leave.
Yeah.
Oh, he's suddenly gone. And what, they just lost another one, right?
They've replaced, I mean, they have a new CEO for Ram. They have a new CEO for Jeep. They have a new CEO for Dodge. They merged the Dodge and combined. So Dodge and Jeep are combined, which makes no sense. Ram's got a new CEO because she came from Chrysler. So Chrysler CEO is now the Ram CEO. It's Maserati's CEO became the Dodge and Jeep CEO. I mean, and these are smart people. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, 100%.
They're in leadership for a reason. But when you have that many changes, it definitely raises questions of what's going on over there. And there's a lot of my concern with them is the same concern I have with Nissan. They're putting so much effort into launching these EVs that customers aren't buying a large, on a large scale. That and then the ICE vehicles are languishing, right? So the Ram finally gets a refresh. It's about a year late. Jeep's finally got a change for the Wrangler, just a refresh. Finally, it's like, so I feel like the ICE vehicles are taking a back seat to all the development dollars being spent on EV vehicles. And if that works out, great. If not, I don't know. It's just,
yes. Tell me, viewers in the comments, I'm curious, even on Tim's side, which one of these besides Ram and Jeep were profitable? So Peugeot, Vauxhall, Alfa Romeo, maybe. I don't follow them much. We know Chrysler has not been profit. If they had to be on their own, they would be gone. Maserati, not really. Fiat, maybe. Who was the last CEO of Fiat? I think he passed away right after he left, but he was the one that merged Ram and all them together with Fiat. And then as soon as I think he was gone, that's when this happens. They were even trying to shove Nissan into this merger at one point. They wanted Nissan.
Yeah. Well, Nissan also wanted to merge the other way too. And I don't know, that might, hindsight's 2020, right? You go back, argue that one any way you want to. It's just, yeah, it's interesting what they're doing. And I was talking to some of the Ram PR team, Stellantis PR team, and they don't even talk about the brands that are sold in Europe. Like, they don't talk about Peugeot. They don't have any cross communications with those PR people. They have no idea. They don't even, they kind of know what those vehicles sell, like Citroen and things, but they don't pay attention to those at all. They still focus on just their five core brands.
When did this happen, Tim? When did this merger? Was it 19 something there?
Like 2019? So 20.
Yeah, is that when they formed as Stellantis?
Something like that. The drug company.
So think about that. If I'm pretty, as you're looking it up, I'm sure 21.
Yeah.
Okay, so
it's gonna take some time to get the merger to work out. I mean, it just takes
100. Yeah, it takes like a year at least to get it going. But for Jeep, let's just look at Jeep. The last Wrangler came out in 18, so that was pre this company. So they don't know what to do with that now. It's pretty obvious that they don't. But just like the new final version of the Wrangler with the V8, like, oh, people still are buying that.
Yes.
Oh, we better start. We better keep finalizing that one. But with Ram, I think the new full size pickup truck's been a mess in my opinion, because you're dealing with people that don't know trucks. These full size Ram trucks, they're not going to Europe. There's no roads for these trucks to be over there. And now you have leadership who doesn't understand the vehicle, much like Toyota and Nissan getting into the full size truck game. There was a big 20-year learning curve. Ram doesn't have a 20-year learning curve to be around. Like now you've got leadership that doesn't understand any of these vehicles. They don't know Wrangler. I know Wrangler sells in Europe, but they truly don't know the crowd that loves Wrangler.
Yeah, I think they'll keep some leadership in place. So like Chrysler CEO has been in the company many years. The Maserati guy's been in the business 25 years with Chrysler. What do you want to go back? Daimler? You want to go back Daimler to Chrysler, Fiat, FCA? You want to go back to Stellantis? I think senior leadership, Tavares, yeah, he's a problem for understanding these brands, which that's a fair criticism. But I think internally inside the brands, they get what they're trying to do. There's a lot of leadership loss, which is leadership drain, I should say, better way to say it. That's the bigger concern. They've lost a lot of people that have experience. And Ram, the thing is, Ram was on a tear. 2019, the new truck blew everybody away. They were dealerships a month after the auto show in January. They beat the Silverado to the dealership lot by 6-7 months. They actually Ram trucks by itself beat Chevy Silverado sales in 1/4 of like 2020. Which
yeah, they were coming
everybody.
to be number 2. They were going to be number 2.
They were number 2. Yeah, it shocked everybody. And then the merger happened, and then things got delayed because the merger happens. And so I'll be curious to see what happens with the new Ram truck. I mean, the Hurricane engine is I think it's better back to back versus the Hemi V8, especially offline speed and towing. You can really feel that power output. It's going to get a lot of people concerned though that there is no V8 with a Ram truck. That's going to be interesting to see how it plays out with consumers. I think that they made incremental changes to the rest of the cabin, which is to me smart. The truck already is a good looking truck. It already has a good interior. So they made small incremental changes. I'm like I said, I'm buying an RHO. I'll be curious to see the quality, right? So Ram quality had jumped amazing last 4 or 5 years. And all the quality surveys I've done, it's like they were always at the bottom. Then they started beating the Toyota Tundra in quality. And I think this next generation Ram may eclipse the Tundra in quality again because of all the issues Tundra is having. But
I don't know, man. I if this guy is saying, I think leadership we can look at with the head of that company right now. I think you can look at they weren't happy with the unions. They tried to basically bully the unions, and you're not going to do that with the unions because they're going to get better press than the leadership is every time.
Yeah.
But he went in and then he shut the plant down, and then suddenly the UAW and him had issues with that, and they had to we're going to reopen the plant.
Oh, the Belvedere, Illinois plant. Yeah, there's some learning curve with Tavares and the unions. The unions, though, you talk about being a bully. I think the last negotiations, the Sean Fain, he definitely had a lot of things to say in the press.
Oh, sure.
that guy. I mean, I don't call them a bully, but he really had a lot of things to say. And first time I've seen the UAW leadership that strong in many, many years. And so there's some hurt feelings, I think, on both sides of that equation.
But leadership that knew how to use social media too. Like,
yeah. Oh yeah. That guy, Sean Fain, he was doing his own videos, Facebook. I mean, he's got that dude's smart. He knew how to leverage his position. But there was, of course, I don't know.
Somebody's getting in trouble over there right now for some wrongdoing again, if I remember right. I can't remember the story.
Shocker.
Yeah, there was something come out last week, I think, about that. Which is always going to be. That's just how it is. What do you got? You pulled something up here, Tim.
Yeah. So there's always this question. Let me back to this for a moment. There was a question about a guy said, he believes that direct injection engines always have carbon buildup, and the only way to prevent that is to have a dual injection, which is a direct and port injection. So a cylinder, direct injection, you spray underneath the cylinder, it goes back with the head goes forward. Port, you go on top of the cylinder, you go up and down, so it sprays the top. So it cleans off any carbon buildup on top of the head is basically what happens in general terms. And what's interesting, there's this Ford mechanic, Macado, whatever this guy's name is. He took 2 engines. He took a first-gen EcoBoost from a Ford F-150 at 100,000 miles, popped the valve covers off, looked at the carbon buildup, and then he looked at a second-gen EcoBoost, 100,000 miles, that has direct and port injection, and he popped those valves off, and guess what? It was the same. The same carbon buildup in the direct injection only and the port injection. The same.
Yeah.
Same buildup. So he did a video as it's really fixed, and he's like, the bottom line is dual injection is probably the better compromise, but you get the power efficiency and carbon buildup is greatly reduced, but you still get carbon buildup. It's not like it's the same anything difference. So it's just interesting that people make a big deal about this, and it's the same lookup.
I see it in my videos all the time. Direct injection, direct injection.
So here's the deal. So he's saying that the port injection was better. Yeah, it is. There is less carbon buildup after you really look into it, but like there's still carbon buildup. Like carbon buildup's not going to go away just because you have port injections.
Yeah.
As I was talking to Toyota's engineers about it, it does help but it's not the holy grail of carb buildup. And there's people in that video. It was funny because there people were commenting like, "Oh, you just go down and get the walnut shell situation and it blows stuff out." And I googled it. The nearest walnut shell blasting place to me is in Kansas City.
Yeah.
It's like 1,000 miles away, and they're like, and the people in the comments are like, they're all over the place. Everybody's doing direct injection carbon blow up,
Right.
walnut stuff. I'm like, where? Like, it must be a California thing or something. But and my philosophy is this: if carbon buildup was such a huge issue, a known issue, we'd have shops all over the place. Remember Z-Bart back in the day was always doing frames and always dipping them, and they always, that was a big deal. So it's like where's it happen? So and Mike says, but Toyotas almost have zero history of carbon buildup with the D4S. When I asked the chief engineer about that, he goes, it kind of helps. Toyota's out there saying this is not the D4S is not the end all be all. It sort of helps. But this philosophy online is that if you don't have an engine with direct and port injection, then you're gonna have carbon buildup. You're gonna have to take your vehicle to dealership once a year and have the carbon buildup blown up. And what's interesting is Ford offers two engines in the Ranger, and in the two engines in the Ranger. The 2.3 has direct injection. The 2.7 has direct and port injection. So in my view, if the port injection was such a holy grail to fix carbon buildup, why wouldn't Ford offer it in all their engines? And Toyota offers it in the D4S. And when I asked them questions about that, they're like, "Oh, because it helps out the idling and it's just more fuel efficient." Not once in any of the press releases, not once in the engineering conversations did they talk about, hey, carbon buildup. Only when I asked and prodded them did they say, yeah, you're probably right, probably improved it. Because the thing that's interesting is if you listen to a direct injection engine, it is really noisy and it idles rougher. If you go direct injection and port injection, the engine's a little bit quieter and it idles better. What interesting thing I didn't realize, and I'm working on a story right now, is the reason why engines have the plastic covers on them is because of direct injection. They're trying to keep that pinging noise down.
Oh, yeah.
That's why they have covers.
It makes sense is why my Bronco doesn't have it then, because it's a 2.7.
Right. So your 2.7, you don't have to worry about that as much. But I had the Colorado Trail Boss, and it was annoying the hell out of me. I was deer hunting, idling the engine. All I could hear was this ding, 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 ding. It was a direct injection doing its thing.
That 4-cylinder it sounds like a little diesel. Like it's so loud.
Yeah. And so they didn't affect carbon buildup. Did they even bother to test it? They tested it. They just didn't care. They didn't think it was that big of a deal.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I understand the argument online. I understand people's viewpoint on this stuff, and I get the comments all the time. And I'm like, I've went to GM, I've went to Ford, I've went to Toyota, I went to everybody and asked them questions about this. I talked to Ram about it, and they're just like, it's not really a thing.
Yeah, but it goes back to that oil issue we talked about last week. It's the same thing. The audience knows better than manufacturer, and I get there might be certain things like noise or whatever Tim's talking about might bother them. But guess what? At the end of the day, they go through these vehicles and they wear this stuff out, man. Like, you don't think they would like to build the quietest vehicle they ever could? That would be like if it was combustible engine like electric quiet, they would do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I find it fascinating because it's a really interesting place where consumers have a huge issue with carbon buildup, issues with different parts like oil usage in engines. They believe that no engine should have carbon buildup and no engine should use oil. Okay. And I go to manufacturing and the engineering, and they're like, every engine uses a little bit of oil. We lose in a dipstick, we lose in the valve cover, the rings, we lose in the PCV valve, we lose a little oil, not a big deal.
Yeah.
And they're like, carbon buildup, it's not a big issue. So as a journalist, I'm just like, holy cow. And so then I go to interview engineers, ask them those questions, and they just shrug it off. Like I remember to this day, I talked to a Chevy engineer at an event, and I pulled him aside and I said, hey, I really want to talk direct injection with you and carbon buildup. And he goes, thank God, let's go right now. Like, this guy was like, give me the mic, we're talking about it. And so I literally was standing there, and he goes, I read forums all the time. He goes, it drives me up a wall when I read people talking about carbon buildup in engines. This veins, they're popping. Like, this guy's like, he's like probably 30 in his early mid 30s. Veins are popping, all sorts going on. And he goes, woo. So I said, talk to me about direct injection. And I literally turned the camera and I took 4 steps backwards. Yeah, I was like, oh my god, and he's like, right, and so I've done that for different things. The whole point of interesting DI was to meet emissions easier, causes it burn clean. Yeah, it's more fuel. It's direct injection is actually really good in technology. It more efficiently burns fuel, and so if you more efficiently burn fuel, you emit less carbon, right?
Yeah.
And carbon by itself is not bad. Plants breathe it. We need carbon.
Yeah.
The problem with it is it's like my analogy. If you go to McDonald's and get one cheeseburger, you're fine. If you go to McDonald's and get 20 cheeseburgers, you might have a problem. And so that's the issue you're looking at. It's not the carbon itself. That's not a problem with carbon. CO2 is fine. It's that we have an overabundance of carbon. And I've had people argue with me about this all the time. I'm like, I'm not a scientist. I'm just telling you that they're saying
Whoa,
that, right.
I thought this was Science Weekly.
Right. No, I'm just telling you that the scientists have said that we have an excessive amount of carbon in the atmosphere. And the carbon is causing more greenhouse gas trapped, causing the plant to warm. However you want to look at that, whether you want to argue with whatever the guy said, but that's what we're doing. So automakers are judged on the carbon coming out of the engine. So if you burn the fuel more efficiently and you have less emissions coming out of the fuel, that's a bonus. And if you if the direct injection causes an increase in fuel economy, that is also a good thing because you're burning less emissions. Carbon is basically what it comes down to. So they are looking at the next phase of rollout for the emission standards, probably coming in 2027. They're looking at what's happening in Europe. The EPA is actually, it was funny, the EPA is behind the curve on this. The EPA is actually slow. People get mad at EPA for making changes really rapidly, and then, like, the EPA is going, no, we're like way behind. like we're looking at Europe first, and then they see what the Euro 6 standards do, listen to what consumer feedback is, and then they talk to automakers. Then they have meetings with the public, and they bring in other stakeholders, and then they make a rule that says, and the EPA, it's always funny, people are always like, well, the EPA says I have to have direct injection. No, they're not. EPA says we want you to be at this amount of emissions.
They're not designing your engine.
You can do how you want to do it. You can do what you want to do, right? So you look at the industry, and you have GM that's gone with cylinder deactivation, and Ford's done this as well. The V8 cylinder deactivation is their viewpoint towards meeting that CO2 criteria. And look at other brands like Toyota saying, "Oh, I don't want to do a V8. I'll do a small displacement V6, but I'll turbocharge it so it acts like a V8." So there's different ways to hit that mark. They're just saying, this is the mark you need to hit, and how you want to hit it.
Well, I think on topic though, I think Toyota is the last person right now. We ask how to build an engine.
They're definitely having.
They're having a day right now.
Well, I mean, that's the reality of what's going on. And so I was talking to these other new journalists, and they were like, "I want to ask the EPA why they mandate this part being added to the engine." The EPA is not mandating any parts. They're just saying, "Look, this technology reduces emissions. That's our goal. Reduces carbon. That's our goal." And then the next generation of improvements will look at more at NOx. They're looking more. So the catalytic converter was really came out to address issues with smog, and then that was great for a while. Then they worked on fuel economy because the oil embargo, and then they went back to let's reduce less carbon. Then they came back to let's reduce more NOx. I mean, they go back and forth what they're targeting. So next thing will be NOx. You'll see what I said in that video. You'll see a bigger catalytic converter. You'll see gasoline particulate filters on new engines, right? So just like the diesel particulate filters, and they have those in Europe. The 3.4, that the same Tundra engine they sell in Europe globally has gasoline particulate filters on it.
Yeah, I've seen, and you did a post or something showing that filter, right?
Yeah, I've seen that filter, and I think I did a post or somebody did a video on it. I did a bunch of research on it. The heavy duty mechanic.
Maybe what was it at the Ranger deal where they had a frame off and you were talking something about that.
That was Tacoma. There was a frame off Tacoma, and I just got done talking to Sheldon Brown, who's chief engineer, about the gasoline particulate filters, and he goes, "Yeah, we have them." And he goes, "The Tacoma will have it too." He goes, "We have it." Globally, we put them on their vehicles. They work. He goes, "It's people get mad about plugging them up, and we're constantly engineering, trying to get better how to do that and how to do regen, that kind of stuff." But he goes, "We have them." And so I did a video because I'm like, "Here, guys, this is coming." Because the month before, the heavy duty mechanic, he's got a channel here on YouTube. He talked about the particular filters in the Tundra, and I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he took the video down. What he was doing who's reading the specs from a European website. Well, he just stumbled across something. He stumbled on the fact that in Europe they already have this stuff, in US we're behind. And I mean, in a way to say it, I mean, whether or not you agree with it or not, I'm not going to argue with that because.
Well, out of all the EPA and all that being slow, you know who the pissed off people are is California, because they were setting the standards for the world forever, and now they're not in the limelight. They're like, hey, come on, we'll cut the cars in half. We'll do something.
Well, and the thing is, like, California is such a interesting place. So it's like, what's the world's 5th largest economy by itself? Yeah. Like, you remember how you talk about, like, Ram and Jeep are holding up Stellantis. California is a big part of our economy.
Oh, 100%.
If California goes away, like I'm sorry, I'm not, no offense to like Kansas or Arkansas, like California creates a lot of tax revenue. They just really do. They're big economy.
Sorry, Nebraska.
Yeah, sorry, Nebraska. I'll just say Nebraska. I'll just shit on Nebraska. I'm from right here, living in Nebraska. But the thing is, like,
Montana, if you we'll say Montana, who has even less people.
Wyoming, next door, right over there, has the least populated state in the country. But when you go to the ports, the biggest problem with California is massive in scale. And the emissions that happens in California is not the state. It's just the ports. The Port of Los Angeles, the Port of Long Beach have more emissions happen there than anywhere else in the country. And maybe in the, I don't know about other ports. I'm not going to speak about other ports. And so that's why they were looking at doing hydrogen fuel cell semi drayage trucks. I went down and rode in those. I didn't drive. I rode in those and got an understanding of it, because more pollution happens there than anywhere else in the state. So if they can reduce pollution at the ports, they can impact air quality through the entire state and the entire East Coast. Because the funny thing with air, it flows.
Well, but you remember in anybody that's ever seen video from that area in the 70s, the smog and stuff. I mean, also Los Angeles is surrounded by the mountains that kind of trap everything there.
Denver's the same problem, right? So Denver's got the western slope, and the winds circle in. They push
Yeah. But emissions, that's a tricky one, because everybody has a strong opinion on this, and unfortunately, we have to follow in whatever state or European Union decides. We're going to have to follow along with it at one point. And I'll be honest, I ditched away with I have an electric weed eater now. Love it.
Yeah, I like to weed eater too.
I still like my big gas powered mower, but
yeah, electric weed eater, man. You just I switched a couple years. I had a Still that was the oil and gas, whatever, the 2-stroke. And was it 2-stroke, 4? I forget. They get the stuff mixed up. But anyways, I ditched that, grabbed an electric one from Menards for like $80. Yeah. And it's so nice to be able to just press the trigger and go, I'll do little spots. I don't have to start it up, crank it, pull on it. I mean, there are some benefits to electric. Electric doesn't, currently we still create more emissions, pollution by doing electric. I still believe that the way people are buying electric vehicles and just parking them is going to cause more pollution. The trick with the electric vehicles is when they are manufactured, they create more pollution. You need to drive them to get the overall CO2 reduction. But people buy them and they say, oh, I can't drive my car because my car creates emissions and I don't want to drive it. Well, then you're dumb. You just created more emissions by buying the car. Yeah. So
it's a good comment right here. I like my electric weed eater. I like options, not mandates. And I think, like, with the EV stuff, like car and truck wise, I think people will get curious and want to buy those, but if you force them, they put up a wall real quick. And I think with a lot of vehicles right now, that's how it is.
Americans, remember, you've made us buy your tea and we dumped it in the harbor, so screw you, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, that's a hallmark. What I get excited about is I don't get excited about EVs because they're just a whole different animal. I get excited about alternative fuels. Mm-hmm. Like, I get excited about Shell or doing a lot of work to create.
Is that them with Porsche that we're doing that?
Yeah, Porsche has their own fuel too. Yeah. Porsche is building their own fuel. Shell's doing a thing with Toyota. I think it's Toyota sounds in the top of my head. Creating a different alternative fuel that is renewable fuel that doesn't have any change, in that you don't have to make modifications to your engine. You just put the fuel in and you burn less carbon. It was really interesting to me because it's like instead of trying to make the engine so different and so unique and all this kind of stuff happening, why not just make the fuel source different?
Yeah,
because if we can make a renewable fuel that burns less carbon, then we don't have to have turbocharged engines. You can still have a V8. because you wouldn't need to make all these changes to the engine, all these hybrids and things happen in battery combinations if the fuel itself was cleaner.
Yeah. You know
You
what I
know,
can tell people really don't like talking about is fuel, because we dropped 10 10 followers like real quick.
yeah, nobody wants to talk about it, but yeah,
Hey,
I'm more interested in that than I am any future development of solid state batteries or any of that kind of stuff.
yeah, so I have two things I want to talk to you about mid-size truck wise. So, friend of the show bought a brand new Raptor. He's put a little color on it. He's done
Oh,
some
that's cool.
things. He's very excited. He was waiting and waiting, and then his local dealership did that BS of like, oh, you don't have to pay, over MSRP till it gets ready to come in, and suddenly it's going to be over MSRP. So he went and found one on another dealership. It was there. He bought it, had a lot of good time, or is having good times with it, really enjoying the vehicle. But Tim, we're talking about quality. This is how it came. So let me zoom in on that.
What is that?
That is a puncture in the door. Almost looking like a gun blast, honestly.
Yeah,
But
that's
this is how it came to the dealership. Like
hmm.
somebody rammed something through it, or maybe the dealership did, but
I'd be more likely to blame transport, to blame a dealership employee or something, or
yeah,
I blame, because those panels come from the suppliers.
mhm.
They don't have holes like that from the suppliers.
No, I mean, I've seen how they assemble all this stuff. No, but the point of it is that somehow something punctured
Yeah, I
it, and the dealership let it go out.
I would lean more on transport. I wouldn't say that's a factory issue for sure. I think that's definitely because final line inspection with the white glove area. I mean, they go through these vehicles,
Whoa,
and
whoa,
that's
whoa, whoa, whoa! We've seen
obviously.
how many F-250 350s have we seen with wrong lights, mismatched lights?
Yes,
Let's
yes,
not
that
act
can
like
happen.
they really.
No, no, I don't think final line assembly looks at that closely. I think lights. I've seen some mishaps with trim. I've seen one Silverado had a chrome over the headlight, and the other one had a body color match over the headlight. I've seen that stuff.
They had
But
Broncos, Tim. They had Broncos coming out with a leather seat and a vinyl seat,
yep, I can see that. Yeah, because
or I mean, a cloth
once
seat.
you get out of sequence with the just in time production, you can get
Yeah.
some weird problems.
Oh
But
yeah,
that
no,
see to me that hole would be caught by the final line inspection. The different color seats, different color highlights. I don't think final line inspection looks at that stuff as close as they should.
yeah, no. But I was just what I was curious about was I mean, obviously, it comes in the dealership. They have two options. They can set the vehicle aside, wait for the part to come in to fix that, or they can go ahead and sell the vehicle and just tell the customer, hey, as soon as we get the part, you go come in. But this is a $60,000 truck that came in like this. The poor guy waited and waited. His original dealership screwed him over. He finally finds his dream truck, and then, well, it's
So
damaged.
so the dealership still sold it with that.
Yes. Yes.
So the thing is, like, you're looking at a cluster of people who've messed this up, right?
Oh,
So
100%.
you're looking at the transporter who should have seen it. You're looking at the final line inspection guy at the plant. Looking at the dealership. So the dealership should do an initial what do they call that? Some terminology for it. Basically, they take all the plastic off. They go through it. They make sure everything's to spec.
Mhm.
So yeah, I just it seems like there was. Yeah, Doug says drove through Detroit, got hit by drive-by shooting. Yeah, it looked like a bullet hole to me. I mean, was there anything on the exterior or just that?
No, no, just that.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think dealership. I mean, dealership should have caught that too. They should have a. They
Well, I
should
think
do.
the dealership did. They just let it. I was amazed they actually let it go out the door.
Yeah,
Or
usually
they
you'd hold that because you don't want that picture going on social media, right?
Right.
Power social
Oh,
media.
100%. Yeah, you don't want that one out. And my last little bit of mid-sized news was, and you've already seen this, but last night at my favorite watering hole, went to get something to eat, and look what I've got to back next to. The
Oh,
old Cybertruck. And I know, Tim,
PDI.
you're
Yeah.
not a fan of this. I don't love it or hate it. I'm that 1% that seems to not bother me. But everybody, remember the early comments? Oh my God, look how massive this thing is. It's so huge. It's just ridiculously big. That it's, this would never fit in your driveway. This is my mid-size Ford Ranger Raptor that makes the thing look tiny.
Show that photo, that one from the back.
Hey, you're always trying to see my back, man. Quit that. Let's
No,
see.
I know you have the photo because
Yeah.
I saw it.
Yeah.
That's the one I think is interesting to me, is because
Yeah.
it's a little bit longer. I mean,
Oh, so it was, and I put my front wheels were wheel to wheels,
yeah,
so definitely it's longer.
and so it's definitely longer. It's not as tall. Well, the height is an asterisk, right? Because it's got air suspension. You can raise it up quite a bit and lower it
Mhm,
quite a bit.
mhm.
So you can make it taller. Width wise, it's not. I've seen them in person. I've looked at them. I've looked at the inside. I basically have refused to drive one because I just think they're ridiculous.
I would drive it. I think it'd be fun, but
No,
it would be fun that one time, and then I'm done with it, you know?
yeah, I did. It's a one trick pony.
Yeah.
But I just the ones I've seen, the panels don't line up. It doesn't look that good. And yeah, Playwave says they reduced it from its debut. It was bigger when it debuted.
Oh, yeah.
They
No,
did shrink it
yeah, I
down.
remember that. No, but
Yeah,
this was when they were coming out in the spring. People were like, "Oh my god, they're a big semi
yeah.
truck."
No, the power of heavy duty. They have the weight of heavy duty, but they have a size like a midsize.
Yeah.
Or in the realm of they're more like a Rivian length, I think. What I was really impressed with this photo that really grabbed my attention was how much patience you have at a DMV to have a custom plate.
All my cars have custom plates, man.
My goodness, you're anal.
No, it's just, hey, man, it's brand awareness. Of course,
I,
you know what I
I've
get though?
never I've never once thought about it. I mean, I maybe I can do something. I just never thought about it.
So ATN, obviously All Terrain Nation, and Raptor there. And what pisses me off was on this one, I had a better name after I hit buy their, order this. I came up with, I don't know why I didn't use Clever Girl because it's green. It's a raptor, and that was a famous saying from Jurassic Park when the raptor is about to kill the guys. It was Clever Girl, and I was like, why didn't I? But then I'd already spent the $30 or whatever to order this thing.
I
But
would go with
no,
ATN.
yeah. But I get a lot, I get a lot of people go, oh, a Tennessee Raptor or a Tennessee. I forget what the other ones are, and I'm like, GD, man, come on, like that's. I mean, I guess yes, I was stupid enough to go. I live in Tennessee. Yeah, that makes sense. But
Oh, a reporter for ATN. ATN reporter.
yes.
Yeah, that's just up to me. But it is something. It does turn your head. It gets you attention. I think people have noticed that it gets unwanted attention. I'm surprised at the number of Tesla Cybertruck owners I've talked to or I've seen
Mhm.
that are shocked at the amount of attention they're getting and how they thought it'd be
Oh,
all positive, and they're surprised people don't love the vehicle.
I saw one today that was wrapped bronze going down the interstate. I
Oh,
was
I got
like,
it. The
okay.
guy who's got the Raptor just texted me. Raptor with a hole in the door panel is mine. They told me it was there in northern Kentucky. Bought it in Louisville, Kentucky. It's a. I still think that's a weird one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I as a person who would want it, I can understand wanting to buy it. And if they say, hey, we'll get a new door panel.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I
I'm
take
totally do
delivery.
it.
I definitely
Especially
take the.
now. They're hard to get.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I take delivery and let the part come in. I wouldn't. It sucks that's there. You want this truck to be perfect when you take
oh,
delivery of it, but
yep.
that's just a weird. And those panels will come out eventually. They'll have a bunch of supply, and that thing, those door panels are easy replacement. It's actually funny. I was watching this new reality TV series on the border, Mexico border, and they have this car in there, and the custom agents are tearing apart the door to look for drugs.
Yeah.
And dude just walks over and let me hand it. He grabs one, goes, and the entire door panel comes off. And I was like, "Holy cow!" It's just clipped in. And I have a
Yeah.
little. I bought the tool set from O'Reilly. There's a
A
little
little
clip.
plastic.
Yeah, a little plastic thing you can do. Clip. Yeah, so because you can snap those clips pretty easily. I mean, you
Mhm.
don't want to, but you can. So
Yeah.
It's an easy swap. And yeah, it'd still take your truck. I mean, for sure. But I was laughing at the custom agent. There's a lady and a man, and the lady just couldn't quite get it. I'll get it.
Yeah. Zero F given. Just like, oh, I don't if I break it, I break it.
Yeah, that's what their attitude was. If I break it, I break it. But they basically, I think at that point, I'm not sure if they had confiscated the vehicle or what they had done, but they were tearing it apart looking for drugs.
And what is
And
this one?
it's like it's something on Discovery. It's really cool, like
Yeah.
all this realm of reality TV stuff. But it's basically it's at the border of Mexico. It's the border police, and they film those people and what they do at the border. And I think it's really timely with all the politics on the border. But it was just interesting how it looks, how they do it in person.
Yeah. Cybertruck went down the same trail as my Bronco. I mean, TFL, they've seemed to test it pretty good. And like, yeah, I mean, I think the only thing for these things actually off road is the weight of them. I think it's been proven with the Hummer. We've seen that thing, like it gets stuck everywhere. It can't go up anything.
Yeah,
Um,
in the snow and stuff, and the other challenge with the Cybertruck is a lot of people who bought them don't know how to off road.
Yeah, well, I find that a lot with new Jeep owners. They think, "Oh, I bought this amazing Wrangler. It does everything for me." And they bought a Rubicon, the most capable version of it. And then it's like, "Yeah, but there's still that 50% that has to know how to drive it, understand vehicle dynamics, the way they move around." And so,
Yeah,
yes,
you gotta have people
definitely.
that understand how to drive a Raptor R and stuff, or in the desert, and not get stuck.
Shut up, Tim. If guys don't know, me and Tim were on the same press event for Raptor R, and yeah, so I had the person in front of me, and I was watching them, and these new engines, the way the nanny features of the engines, once you let off, it was like, oh, let's pull the energy, let's not allow that. And yeah, I buried the truck in sand going up a dune,
Mhm.
which I wouldn't do again. I can tell you that. But I told you, Tim, at the same point, I haven't drove in heavy sand like that before, so that was the first real challenge of doing that.
Oh,
But
it was
I wouldn't
comical.
make that mistake again.
I was sitting in my truck watching you with some popcorn. Oh, look at that.
Look at the little guy. He's trying.
And then I roll up there, and there's the dune it's a big dune, and you can do
Here,
basically two
I'll find it real quick.
two loops, two loops, and everybody's doing the one loop and they're coming back. I'm like, what are you guys doing? So I
Well,
rolled
I
to the
think the
starting
first guy
line.
we saw went and did the other one
Yeah,
too.
yeah. I rode the starting line, and the guy's sitting there, and he's making sure you go one by one, and giving enough distance between you and the vehicle in front of you. It makes sense. It's all lead and follow kind of stuff. And I looked at him and I said, "Can I do both?" He goes, "Yeah." I don't know why you guys aren't doing both. And I'm like, all right, bye. And I went through it, and then and then like, if you want to do it again, I'm like, yeah, I want to do it again. And so I went and did it again.
Well, I couldn't at that point, and you know why I couldn't at that point.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
my
different.
my belly was like, you're not doing
Yeah,
that
yeah,
again.
somebody had the wrong food.
Yeah.
$1.99 from Mr. Executive Producer, sir, because Dave is a sandbag. I love it.
All right, Andy, back off now. We greatly do appreciate those on both sides. Like Tim's audience needs to give him some super chats.
Yeah,
Once in a while.
I think I maybe make a quarter. Do I get it? Do I get to split that in half, and then the YouTube takes their percentage, and then I get like maybe 25%?
Yeah, by the time YouTube on both ends gets us, we have like nothing. It's like your Facebook payment you got.
Yeah, I got a Facebook payment the other day of 29 cents.
So,
It was a
so what
bonus.
a lot of people don't realize is, as creators, whatever you want to call us, um, our profiles are monetizable. So Tim posted on his, I guess that was on your personal page that
No, it was my business page.
was it your business one?
Yeah, I've been really leaning into shorts lately, and
Clearly, you're
TikToks and
making all that
things.
money.
Well, I'm just trying to get one more. I'm trying to get additional revenue streams outside of YouTube.
Right. But yeah, in which I did like a year ago. I was like, might as well. Like, but yeah, I'll get every once in a while, I'll get a for 39, 49. I did get $1.50 one time from Facebook, and I
Oh.
was like, we're going out tonight. We're going to celebrate. And then Kelly got like $1.60 on hers. And I was like, damn it, what did she do that I didn't do?
Bubble Guts Dave gave another Bubble Guts for $2. So now we can split
Right.
it. Woohoo! Bubble Guts.
Well, here, this isn't exact. I must have deleted the photo, but here's kind of the area we were playing in.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you see the little devil going across the? That was all. I was like, that was a bucket list moment for me to see that. And then I was hoping they were talking. This is where they were staging us to talk, and I was hoping that I could drive through it. I just wanted to drive the truck through the damn thing, and I was like,
I
well,
just saw one yesterday driving in town. We had a big storm roll in last night, and there was a couple of them.
yeah. But I have
Those
video
things
of
happen all
this
the time.
going right across the front of the truck just the whole time. Just like,
Yeah, little dirt devil. Yeah, we see
yeah.
him. I see him all the time. It's like, okay, and it's weird because like you'll be standing there and it's not really that windy, and all of a sudden in that area, in that spot, there's this dirt devil. And you're like, really? I guess for me it's not that windy. We usually have pretty good wind gusts out here. We had 90-mile-an-hour last night, took down a bunch of trees and power lines.
I saw, yeah, you had some storms roll through and
There
do
was
some damage?
a couple confirmed tornadoes. We had marble size hail. I was concerned to have the Ranger Raptor outside, which we talked about, and
Yeah.
we do a collab video if we can figure out what to do. And then I have the Lexus 550 Overtrail they just dropped off. So I had $140,000 worth of vehicles sitting out there. And I was like, all right, well, there's nothing I can do. I don't have the garage space for them. They have to sit outside. Yeah. And then watching that hail hit, and I was like, okay, yeah. Doug says you see them all those time at dry lake beds in Nevada. Yeah, they're very common out there.
Yeah,
but because you've never been out there, I can understand why they were interesting to you and why you got stuck. Because off-roading in the desert is a lot different than trail driving in Tennessee, right? So like you're, what's the name of that trail you like going to? Windrock, yeah. Driving Windrock and those areas, I've done that off-roading as well. It's a completely different experience than here's an open desert, go as fast as you want. The driving's different. The opportunity to get stuck are a lot different. Like in Windrock, or like we were doing the trail in Wisconsin at the Mama Spring Rally. You got to really go slow, watch out for trees, pick your way through the trail, look for rocks. You got to really much more slow. In the desert, it's like your foot better be on the floor. You better be getting. You have to go fast.
Yeah. Well, here I want to show you this. This was my first time in sand with the Raptor. I was at the local park. They had a volleyball area in the parking lot, and I was like, "Oh, cool! Look, I got to get in some sand with my little Ranger Raptor." And then still about got stuck.
Maybe Dave Sandbag just needs to stay out of the sand.
Well, so for this, I was like, "Oh, cool!" Like the night before they had some kid thing they were doing out there. I was like, "Cool, I'll go get a cool photo of the truck out in that sand," and trying to do it sneakily and quick. I didn't want any park officials like going, "Hey, get out of there." So I was like, I ran over there and I'm trying to do this. My daughter's with me. She's just like, "Dad, you're just being stupid. Can we go on?" And then I was like, uh-oh. I was trying to go forward a little bit and I was like, well, let's just reverse it real quick. We'll get out of here. But it's like, yeah, I would be in the newspaper somehow. Local idiot.
Big full image.
Yeah, let's call in the tow trucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Tim, what do you got coming up, man?
Yeah, I'm about to get some lunch. That's what's coming up. Lunchtime here for me. Let's see what else I got going on. I feel like a lot of good stuff coming out. I have a Sequoia video I shot. I'm just waiting to publish. I have a Lexus TX video, which is odd timing that I'm gonna have to publish because I don't want to sit out for 2 months while the recall happens. It's just weird how that works out. I have the Ranger Raptor outside. I have a Lexus GX 550 Trail Edition. I have a GMC Canyon AT4X. Was it AEV? I just got the email on it. Yeah, AEV. So the basically the bison version. And I have this friend down south of me that has 4,000 acres, 40,000 acres, something like that. 20,000 acres. Yeah. Anyways, it's the property is a mile by a mile, and it's all ranch land. And so we were out there the other day with the 4-wheeler I have, and the horses were chasing us down because they used to get fed by oats with the 4-wheeler. So they were like, "Ooh, where's our food at?" Right. And so my son is learning how to fly my drone. So I should have some pretty cool footage when we figure that out of driving through there. I'm gonna take the Ranger Raptor down, and we're gonna take the 4-wheeler down to go play the 4-wheeler again. And then my plan is to take the Ranger Raptor out and around in that environment because you're shooting the stuff in Tennessee where you have a lot of trees and things, and for us, like 6 trees is a national forest, so it's a whole different atmosphere and different landscape. And I just feel like the Ranger Raptor out here is just gonna be a lot of fun. Once you gotta you gotta do the pre-course check, right? You gotta look around, see what the course check is. Probably don't disagree.
I've taken a lot of shit on it. That was, it was a creek, but that was a public road I was driving through. I had somebody from California going, "You're really hurting the whatever," when I was doing a spinning in that truck. I was literally on a road.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that kind of stuff. It'll be fun. It's gonna be a good time. And I just have what's great is I'm home. Thank God. I'm home for like a month. And I have all these cool vehicles coming in. And so I get to do a lot more work with them. I'm going to do some nighttime stuff. I'm going to do some things that, I get a chance to do. So I can't wait. And then this is the cool thing. I haven't talked about it a whole lot, but I believe I'm going down to San Antonio in mid-July or end of July to do an event with XPEL. XPEL is the company that they have like coatings they put on wraps and things that protect it for vehicles from getting dinged and danged with the rocks and things. And they have the gravel monitor, what do they call it? Gravinator or something like that. It's basically a gun that fires gravel. And we're going to fire gravel at some truck.
That's double whammy for you.
I know. They emailed me and like, "I think you want to do this." I'm like, "Oh, hell yeah, I want to do that." I'm going to fire gravel at things. So they're working on the flight plans right now I really didn't want to go. I wanted to be home for July, but I got this invite and I was like, yes. And it happens to be our July is full. Like my wife's at camp, my kids are at camp, all these things going on. And it happens to be this one period of the week that I have a couple free days. And I'm like, sign me up. I'm gonna go fire gravel at a truck and see how the XPEL holds up to this, which I'm assuming it hold up really well, but I want to fire gravel at a truck.
I mean, hey, when do you get these opportunities,
Right.
I'm a big fan of theirs because I love their paint protection film they do, but then they do a matte version, so you can like matte your vehicle just with their clear films and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know much about them. I've heard of them, and I know
they're the leaders in that industry.
Roughly about them, but I can't wait to go down and spend time with them and their team. And I'm sure there'll be an engineer person there, whatever I could talk to. And I'm going to learn a lot. And that's the thing that gets me excited and gets me up every day is learning something new and then sharing with the audience what I learned. And that's what I love to do. So I can't wait to get down there and learn something new and hear something you guys can talk about. And then the footage of firing gravel at a truck is going to be just phenomenal.
Clearly, this is the part that you're more excited about than anything.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'll learn a bunch, but like, I'm just gonna the video is gonna open with me going, that's gonna be the video opening, and that's gonna be the greatest thing ever. So I can't wait for that. I'm sure I'll, TFL people will be there too, which would be fine. I hang out with the people, but I'm just like, I got to go down and do that. I got to go down and hang out with my colleagues and shoot stuff at trucks. That's the best thing ever.
Well, I just dropped a video link in. I challenge everybody, please go watch this video for me. It's a Mazda CX-70 all-wheel drive.
Okay.
To get doors open from my side of the channels, Tim knows, got to get some views. So if I want to continue to work with Mazda, and they're doing some really cool things right now. I love this SUV. I think the CX-70 is, well, in a lot of ways, it's better than the Germans that it's sort of trying to get in their playing field. So if you guys would watch that video for me, I don't care if you don't even listen to it, just play it, and hopefully something happens there. Yeah, well, no, because there's, I know the rep, super nice lady, and she wants to do things with us. So I got to prove, make some proof.
It's gonna be a good business for both of you guys.
Yes, 100%. But I'm more interested, honestly. I want to get into the Miata so bad. I want a week with the Miata.
I don't fit.
As a kid, it was my favorite car as a kid. So I love the little round, the way it used to be, that little round thing. And I love the fact that they have a mandate that car cannot grow in size. It has to stay the same size. That's the mandate for that vehicle. And, it's been the one thing that Mazda's done. They really haven't, they sell, and, I'm happy for them, but I want to do some time in that car. But you're talking about getting into the AT4X. Like I've reached out to GMC this week. Hopefully I'm getting a Colorado coming up. So I would like to do some more time. No, the Colorado. I want to do some time in the ZR2, some actual time, because you get these press events we go, like the Mama rallies and stuff we do. You only get a taste of kind of what that vehicle's like. You don't get to, like, Tim will have his press loan for 7 days. You get more of a feel for that.
Yeah. And you're not rushed. You're not around a bunch of people. Don't have distractions. Like I can go, like I'll probably this afternoon. I want to take the GX550 out for a drive. I drove it this morning and it really hit hard on some of the pavement, and I didn't like the way it rode. So I want to just.
There's been some people complaining about the ride of that thing.
Yeah, and I know my colleagues were talking about the hood flutters, and I want to go check that out too. So I want to and that's the thing. It's like I can just grab my phone, throw a podcast or something on, and just go for a drive, and and get a better feel for it. And you don't feel as rushed. You do better videos. It just I don't love press drive events as much as I used to, and so I much prefer press loans. And press drive,
like your Grenadier video where you've got the rep in
behind
you, and you're like, well, I can't really. I mean, you can't. You can, but it's not good business on both parts. If you're like, this is a pile of shit. This thing, ladies in the back going, oh great.
Yeah, I mean, I have had some criticisms at events. And engineering and I we've had conversations, and they ultimately agree with me. I mean, I don't say agree with me. They just ultimately we come together and say, okay, yes, yeah, you're right in this. And so, and then I really nicely say it, because you don't want to. every vehicle's got its pros and cons. You don't want to crap over the vehicle and be that guy, because if you're always a guy that's always hating every vehicle they get, it becomes an old song and dance. I mean, it gets old
like the channel we were talking about earlier that I
yeah,
just
those shock jock channels. I mean, if you look at I shared it on the forum .pickup truck talk about the motor feed and his analytics from view stats, and you see his stats are like freak out video, then nothing, freak out video, then nothing. That's why he has to do them. He has to keep it going, because if he doesn't get this,
they get addicted to it. As a creator, it is addicting to see a video. You watch the real-time numbers moving. That's addictive.
Yeah,
and
but he's got no like. It's not. It's mine's more linear. I get some hits here and there, but more linear growth, because I have so much content that's evergreen that people want to watch reviews of, and they want to, they want to know things, and his stuff's like.
Well, those guys get a big payday on one video, and they're like, I got to do that again.
Yeah,
and that's not why we're doing this. I mean, I want to earn a living from this, but at the same point, like, they'll be gone. Your audience will be gone in a year. And
yeah, to me, it's all about integrity, right? So why would I jeopardize my integrity by doing one of those videos when that's all I have?
Yeah. Oh, 100%, man. I feel like both audiences, they know if we said, hey, this is a pretty good vehicle, in our opinion, it's a good vehicle. It's not bought and paid for. I even seen, we'll end with this, Tim. I even see that I don't know why TFL is getting this bullshit of just they're bought and paid for. I don't know where that came from all of a sudden. And I was watching their live stream yesterday, and Nathan was kind of defending themselves a little bit. And I'm like, you guys shouldn't have to defend yourself, man. You're not bought and paid for. Like, it bothers me that any of these people think that any major outlet is bought and paid for, because they're not.
No,
we've talked about in the past, Doug DeMuro is so anal about, he won't even pay he pays for his own flights, his own hotel rooms and stuff, which some manufacturers will put you up in. Like when I went to Palm Springs, Ford paid for my hotel room, my flight there. But there's also, I'm working. They're just hoping to get some attention on their vehicle, and I don't feel like I'm being bought and paid for by Ford if they never send me to another trip.
I don't know a single journalist bought and paid for. I don't know anybody that, because
like they're being attacked right now. I don't know why all of a sudden a crowd is like, oh, you're bought and paid for.
I don't get it either. I mean, they've done good work for years, and why would you? My integrity is priceless. I'll never give that up.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know where that was coming from, but I kind of wanted to mention that. And Nathan was nice enough, though I did give him a super chat. He was nice enough to say some nice things about me, him and Andre. So I've got to get those guys on here sometime. I want to talk with them and you, and because they're old school, you're kind of mid school of where I'm at, and then I'm the young pup of all this. I'd kind of like to get some opinions, maybe down the road. Nathan's been on the show before, and so is Tommy.
Yeah.
Anyways.
All right.
So there you go, guys. Tim's belly's rumbling over there. I can tell. See, his little cheeks are getting red. He's getting hungry. So hopefully these Friday shows are working out for you. I don't know whether Tim, has time or never, but when he is, he jumps on. But I think we're just going to continue to do these little Fridays around nooners kind of deal, and talk for an hour or so, and have some fun. So in the comments below, you know what to do. Leave us a comment on Tim's side. He's going to read them. I know he likes to post some of the silly ones up sometimes, so he does enjoy the silly comments.
I do.
But on both sides, let us know what you think of this, especially if you're rewatching. That means a lot that you're paying attention. So whether it be two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, or these badass trucks we all like to drive, Tim,
thanks for watching, and we will see you down the road.
Peace.